In this video, we'll be looking at a problem based on probability. A student is attending an online examination which consists of different levels. To move on from one level to the next, he must get at least one question right. Each question consists of 4 different options. Assuming that the student selects an option randomly for each question and that he answers 3 questions in all, find the probability that he moves on to the next level. Okay, so this is actually a critical thinking problem based on probability. Let's look at the question. The question wants you to find the probability that he moves on to the next level. When does he move on to the next level? It states here that to move on from one level to the next, he must get at least one question correct. And he answers 3 questions in all. So, the question wants you to find out the probability that he gets at least 1 out of 3 questions correct. This is what you have to find out, because if he gets at least 1 out of 3, then he can move on to the next level. Okay, so first for this, we'll have to find out the probability of getting a question correct, because that is not given in the problem. So the probability of getting a question correct is what we'll have to find out first. The question states that each question consists of 4 different options. So this is just like a normal MCQ question. It has 4 options and the student selects an option randomly for each question. So there are 4 different options and the student is selecting one option randomly. So what will be the probability that he gets a question correct? It will be 1 by 4. Why? Because there are 4 different options and he is randomly selecting an option. So 1 out of 4 is the chance of him getting a question correct. Then the same chance of him getting a question wrong will be 1 minus 1 by 4, and that is 3 by 4. Okay, now that we have found this out, we now know the probability of getting a question correct and wrong. Now let's look at what the question requires of us. We have to find out the probability that he gets at least one question correct. At least 1 out of 3. Now what does this actually mean? First, let's list out the different cases that can actually happen. We have case 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now in case 1, he could get none of the questions correct. In case 0, in case 1, he could get just one question correct. In case 2, he could get 2 questions correct. And in case 3, he could get 3 questions correct. Now these are all of the possible cases that can happen while he's attending this online examination, while he's attending one question, right? So now, out of these 4 cases, let's see which cases falls under at least 1 out of 3 questions correct. Now the total probability of all of these 4 cases will be 1. Why? Because the maximum probability or the total probability of an event is always 1. Okay. So at least 1 out of 3 questions correct means it could be 1 or it could be 2 or it could be 3. It has to be 1 or greater than that. So the only case which will not happen will be this case. This must not happen. So we have to find out the probability of any of these 3 cases happening. So how do we find that out? It's kind of tedious for us to find out the individual probability of each case and then get the total probability. What I'll be doing instead is, I'll be finding out the probability of getting no questions correct. I'll be finding out this probability and then I will take 1 and subtract this to get this probability. Okay, so what we have to find out now is, we have to find out the probability of getting none of the questions correct. And then we'll subtract it from 1 and we'll get the probability of getting at least 1. Okay. probability of getting none of the three questions correct. If he gets none of the 3 questions correct, that means that he gets all 3 of them wrong. It's the same event. 3 questions are wrong. What's the probability that he gets all 3 of the questions wrong? Now, we know that if the probability of, let's just say the probability of him getting 1 question wrong is P. If it happens 3 times, because there are 3 questions, then it will become P cube, right? So likewise, the probability of him getting 1 question wrong is 3 by 4. And it happens 3 times because he gets 3 questions wrong. So it will be 3 by 4 into 3 by 4 into 3 by 4. And this gives us 27 by 64. So this will be the probability of him getting all 3 questions wrong. Now to find out the probability of getting at least one, I'll have to take probability of getting at least one correct will be 1 minus probability of getting all 3 wrong or none correct. 1 minus 27 by 64. And this will give me 67 minus 24. I will have 37 by 64. Now this is the probability of getting at least one question correct. And the probability of getting at least one question correct means it's a probability that he goes on to the next level. So what I've done here is I had to find out the probability of at least 1 out of 3 correct. I'm not finding the individual cases, the probabilities of the individual cases and adding them, but instead what I'm doing is I'm taking the total probability 1 and I'm subtracting that one case which is not favorable, that is none correct. So it simplifies matters and it makes it more easier. If you want more questions of this type in probability, please subscribe to my videos. Thank you.